lost mine in the sand. Where will you stand?
All right, Hulk, we decided to hit the record button so we don't do the whole show offline, but our conversations that we were having regarding what's going on right now,
Yeah,
and of course, as I mentioned to you, with the elections right now, we're just I think people here are just waiting to get to at least Wednesday of next week just
yeah,
to at least have a little bit of peace of mind of okay, what direction, where are we going?
yeah.
So it's it's hard to keep up with everything that's going on. As I said to
It's
you, it
shocking.
feels like an
Yeah.
eternity since I talked to you last.
Yeah, it's been a week, a week less 1 hour because
Yeah,
we in Israel just changed the clocks.
yeah. Well, we'll
You know,
catch
it
up with
used
you
to,
this week. So
it's very strange. It used to be 4, 5, or even 6 weeks difference.
yeah,
And now it's just 1 week. Anyway, first of all, let's start off on a very light topic, which is like people have asked me, well, okay, forget what people have asked. I saw pictures of the Sukkot gatherings that many of my friends had throughout the US.
yeah.
And one thing I noticed, they were all in winter coats, and it looked like they were shivering around campfires. Again, the campfire, uniquely American phenomena. We
Yeah,
don't have that here on
yeah.
Sukkot, but the winter coats. We don't have that here on Sukkot either. The temperature has dropped here in Israel considerably. Modi'in is considered kind of a mid-range
Hmm.
temperate environment. So our days, well, overnight it'll drop down into the mid to high 60s
Hmm.
and in the low 80s during the day. So it's gotten much colder here. And I know some of y'all are saying, Hanoch, take that back. Be quiet.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
sorry, man.
We've already seen freezing here in Franklin. So
Unbelievable. Okay, let's get to the big issue. The big issue was the strike against Iran.
yeah,
Now, initially, I have to tell you, I was one of many Israelis that was incredibly disappointed. It seemed initially that it was much ado about nothing.
hmm,
And then information began coming in. Results began being discussed.
yeah,
And there are a couple of things to consider. First of all, we're talking about 100 planes in 3 waves of attack of a considerable distance. I think in terms of miles, it's something like 1,000 to 1,400 miles. I don't recall. And again, math is not my strong suit. And then switching from kilometers to miles is,
yeah, yeah.
okay. I saw a statistic that in the Second World War, the Allied air forces, primarily US and UK, would minimally suffer 10% losses on every bombing raid.
Hmm.
So out of 100 of our planes, based on that statistic, God forbid, 10 would not come back
Yeah,
with their crews.
yeah,
Every single crew came back safe, Baruch Hashem,
yeah,
including the four where the co-pilot navigators were women. Tremendous, tremendous thing that just happened with that. It appears that we struck and have wiped out most of Iran's most sophisticated air defenses. We severely damaged their ballistic missile building capability,
yeah,
the mixed fuel capabilities. And in a normal country, it would serve as a tremendous warning. I mean, by taking out their air defenses, that means that the next time that we sweep in, there's nothing to oppose us. Iran has an
yeah.
air force that's old, that's more than a generation behind even our F-15s and F-16s
Hmm.
that, of course, we've modified here. but Iran's not a normal country, so you never know what they're going to do.
Yeah.
Um, Occasionally, they provide a source of humor, like going to the United Nations and demanding the Security Council act because Israel, quote, violated their airspace and attacked Iran.
Oh, yeah, that was
Well,
so ridiculous. And the thing is, there's probably people in the United Nations that went, yeah, we'll vote for that.
um, it's really astounding. We continue to make tremendous strides fighting Hezbollah, um, and the cost, though, is horrific.
Oh, yeah.
Um, you know, it appears I've read estimates that we have destroyed up to 80% of Hezbollah's missiles. That was one of our governmental sources. 80% of Hezbollah's missiles.
Hmm.
You have to understand, Iran doesn't have a normal defense of their country. The thing that Iran has built over the years to defend Iran has been Hezbollah, the Houthis,
Hmm.
the rebels in Iraq, Hamas. These were the one, this was the big sword hanging over our head. We've basically defanged much of Hezbollah, but as the elite American forces learned in Somalia years ago, if you remember the whole Black Hawk Down
Yeah.
situation, some of the most elite units in the U.S. Armed Forces, if you're surrounded by 1,000 guys with Kalashnikovs and
Hmm.
rocket-propelled grenades, you're still going to take horrific losses.
Oh, yeah.
It seems every day they post the pictures of another 4 or 5 uh, of our men who
Oh,
were
I
killed in action.
know. There was a time we went for a little bit of a time that there was nothing. And now it's three, four, five. This
Yeah.
morning's count is 777. That's not a a number that's normally associated
No.
with something like this. It's just
The
another mile marker, But then the as you mentioned, over 70 orphans.
Yeah, over 74 orphans in the last few weeks.
Yeah.
Another fact is this is not often publicized. There have been 12,000 wounded men and women. Um, Now, many of these wounds are horrific
Hmm.
and life-changing and disabling, crippling.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Now, over the last several months, certainly since the war started, I always seem to bring up, not understanding why people aren't involved and why they're not caring enough. And typical of me, I came up with a whole nother spin on it, like out of nowhere. And I think what we're standing in is what, for lack of a better term, I'll call an Esther moment. The nation of Israel, the people of Israel, we're going to get through this. Whether people around the world, ostensibly of good conscience, do anything about it or not, our protection, ultimately, our resilience, our ability to get through this, to come out, to survive and thrive afterwards, is going to happen whether they are involved or not.
Hmm.
Just like Esther, this is, you have a role to play. However, if you choose not to play that role, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. The
Yeah.
Jewish people are going to be taken care of ultimately. Now, I want to be clear what I say about that, because I've noticed on posts that I put up, and I saw this on a post that you put up as well, when people jump right away and said, Hashem will protect his people.
Yeah.
In a global sense, like for all eternity, yes. But if you look at the number of killed in action,
Hmm.
maimed, wounded, excuse me, Where have you been for the last year plus?
Yeah.
Where were you on October 7th, 2023?
I almost let that post go by because I understand where the person was coming. I don't know this person, or at least I don't think that I know them. And so I wasn't really attacking them.
No.
I was just posting something about kind of that naive. Well, we read the book and we know who wins in the end
Yeah.
is such a hollow statement to me
Yeah.
because when you know the people, when you've been there, and this is the blessing and the curse of being in Israel as many times as I have, of living there as you do, is you get to see the blessings of. I just got a Instagram yesterday from the horse farm that we've been helping,
Yeah.
and it was the horses and people riding in the stables and or in the arena and cleaning out the stables. These young ladies that do that, and it just brought such a smile to my face. But at the same time, the curse is that you got to know the people and the people become real. It's like sending, when we had Desert Storm and Desert Shield, hey, go guys. But if in your home you have an empty bedroom because of someone that's now sleeping in a cot in Iraq, it kind of changes your emotion there.
Yeah. Borrowing that old term, if you don't have skin in the game,
Mm,
it's very easy to sit and think of it just from a theological point of
mm,
view, that
mm,
in the end it's all going to be fine.
yeah,
For those people who, I mean, for those children who now have to grow up without parents. And I saw there was a picture and I posted it. It haunts me. It's a young soldier walking with his young daughter.
no,
He's missing a leg. He's on crutches.
yeah,
Now, eventually, I assume he'll be fitted for an artificial leg.
yeah,
Um, but you know, this isn't Bible school. We're
yeah,
not reading stories, and we're not saying like, wow, look, the Philistines came to Shiloh, they burned, it's all remote. It's like watching, a World War II movie, you know,
yeah.
but it's very different.
Yeah, it's kind of like watching the Bible accounts happen out your window, or on
Yeah,
this, and this one is online. We mentioned Hezbollah. I get the Red Alert app, of course, and Kiryat Shimona is to me is one of the most beautiful towns. Knowing some of the people that live there,
yeah,
Matula, the list of names goes on. And again, I cannot figure out how you guys put this many towns in such a small area. Okay, uh, they're not even big enough to get on the map, really. But to know that these towns are pretty much vacant, the
yeah, yeah,
produce that is harvested in these areas, is nothing's coming out.
yeah.
Uh,
It's
the
it's it's it, it's real, and we face it every single day. And when you have friends and when you have loved ones who have friends who are serving, every day is fraught with concern.
Yeah,
Every day there's this overwhelming sense of, like, for instance, I've done a really good job, honestly, of managing all the news sources. But I am now, in the last week in particular, since Sukkot ended, I have gotten so inundated with the pictures and bios of fallen soldiers.
Oh yeah.
I keep checking the date on the by, with next to the byline. I did that just happen? Was that
Hmm.
yesterday? Was that last night?
Hmm.
And again, because of the war, we have military censorship. So we don't see the things immediately. There is no mention of a fallen soldier until well after
Yeah.
their family is notified.
Yeah. It's
Um,
almost like this kind of time warp. I feel
yeah,
like we're in over the last year that time continues on. I just, I put I did put the intro up for as soon as we get finished. Roll that over into Final Cut and go through the motions of everything I got to do to get online. Uh, and it's like October 30th, 2024. Where did the year go on one hand? And on the other hand, where did this year go?
it's
It's like,
it's amazing you mentioned that. It's
yeah.
amazing that you said that. For the longest time, for instance, when I started my presentation last time, when I was in America, and I said, okay, does anyone know what today's date was? And people, give whatever the date was.
Mhm.
I say, no, today is actually, October 285 or something,
Yeah.
something,
Yeah.
because that's the way it felt.
Yeah.
Someone said during Sukkot, well, the American elections are in 2 weeks.
Hmm.
So what are you talking about? So, oh, look at your calendar. And it's next week now.
Hmm.
And Sukkot, it's funny. There are congregations that I spoke to in July and August. And I said, I'm starting to put together my calendar. Particularly, there were groups that I could not fit in. I just, I had, I had a lot of interest, at least then. And they couldn't talk about it. And people said to me, said, listen, I can't think about this until
Yeah.
we're through,
Yeah.
with Sukkot. Well,
Yeah.
my schedule's almost full now.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether, these people are going to contact me and I'm going to say, I'm really sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when I spoke to you in August and September and you told me, you'll get back to me, well, I'm still waiting.
Mhm. Yeah. So if anybody wants to know what day it is, it's day 390.
Yeah.
Okay. 390. And in the process of this, now 390 days later, the United Nations, of course, is up in arms about Israel saying that UNRWA, the United Nations uh, relief organization,
Yeah.
of their way of relief is employing terrorists and giving them money to hide hostages. And so now the
It's
world is saying this is a great
okay.
humanitarian, disaster kind of thing.
I will now share with you another tremendous insight that I had the other day.
Okay.
When you don't sleep, you lay in bed, Okay, I grew up, and for those who are much younger than I am, they're not going to understand this. But one of the TV shows that was really popular when I was a kid was Superman.
Mm-hmm.
And it was black and white, and it was really tacky. But the ending, in the intro was the never-ending battle for truth, justice, and the American way.
Yeah.
And it dawned on me, people, hopefully they'll have a better idea next week of what the American way means. But I don't know areas of the world that are interested in either truth or justice.
No.
So those who grew up watching those kind of TV shows are looking around at the world and saying, like, how can you not care?
Mm-hmm.
And it's an amazing feeling looking at the European Union or Macaron of France, who has financial dealings with Hezbollah.
Yeah.
They're in an outrage. No one cared. 10,000 rockets had hit Israel in a year. And like no one, No one cares. But, one Israeli soldier stepping into southern Lebanon. Now, let me quickly tell you what I think is about to happen.
Okay.
Okay?
Get a
I
notepad,
think,
folks.
yeah. And I said this back in last January. There's going to be a negotiated settlement. I'm talking about Lebanon.
Yeah.
Um, between the government of Lebanon, which is really kind of a straw man, Israel, America, France, probably whatever. It'll be some version of the standing UN resolution that no one pays attention to, 1701, which means Hezbollah would have to be pushed back
Hmm.
beyond the Litani River, above it. There would have to be some kind of mechanism to monitor that Hezbollah doesn't go and repeat and do the same thing. I mean, literally, we were within days of an invasion from Hezbollah
Hmm.
into northern Israel.
Yeah.
It wasn't just that there was danger, in October
Yeah.
2023. I think that will then result. And by the way, if I don't look enthusiastic about it, it's because I'm not. I think that will result in some kind of quiet and large pullout from Gaza. The biggest problem is we don't know what to do with Gaza now.
No, you
You've
don't.
got the Palestinian Authority, which out of terrorists they're the moderate terrorists. So
Hmm.
this is something Rob Khanna taught us many years ago. See, here we have like militant terrorists and we have moderate terrorists.
Hmm.
We have moderate terrorists.
Hmm. Well, I've got a couple of, I mean, and then you throw the media stupidity into all this, and there was a ticker going across the screen the other day. I can't remember which station I was watching, but it said truce, negotiations are happening right now, which will involve both the Jewish and Palestinian captives. Excuse me, this is Jewish hostages being released for Palestinian prisoners.
Arab terrorists. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Arab terrorists. These are not, Israel has not taken anyone hostage.
No one, again, we come back to another thing popular from my teenage years. Don't confuse the issue with facts.
Yeah, yeah,
That's the thing. No one really cares to say, wait a second, wait a second. These were babies, men, women, children, elderly people taken hostage. I saw an estimate the other day that we now don't think that more than 25
yeah.
are alive.
I'm going to be surprised if it's that. I do have I do have a suggestion. I'd like you to run up to the Knesset sometime
Well, it would
because
be the same thing. I could throw it in the Kinneret or I could speak
yeah,
to the
yeah, one
Knesset.
of the
Same
two, one of the
difference.
two. I do have something to run for you to run up because I think that Israel does about as good a job in PR as they do in helping tourism. Both are ridiculously in need in so many ways. But the next time that somebody says something about Gaza aid, I think it would be a great thing for the Israeli government and media to post the number of missiles that were sent from Lebanon into northern Israel in one night,
Yeah.
and then give the dollar figure that it costs to buy those missiles and just propose to the players here that maybe they could take just one night off and take the cost of those missiles and send to humanitarian so-called humanitarian aid in Gaza.
Well, again, I've been, we've all been doing kind of like a lot of blinking, kind of like
Yeah.
Is that really happening? I
Yeah.
mean, there are things that I read that I think are we used to call them in Yiddish a Purim spiel. It was for the holiday of Purim, some fake story, with humor and something. So it was a Purim spiel. Um, it's bizarre.
Well, maybe what you could do, Hanok, in your sleepless evenings, sleepless in Modi'in, the new sequel coming
Yeah.
out. Maybe you could go through and figure out how many missiles and rockets and ballistic missiles have come out of Iran, Hezbollah, and Hamas, and you could come up with a number, a dollar figure of how much that they have put into this war in the last year. And just imagine that everybody in Gaza could have been a multi-gazillionaire if they would have just given them that money instead of attacking Israel.
Well, people say, you read the news that Iran's economy is weak and is teetering. And it's like, wait a second, they're a huge oil exporter. Why aren't they flushing bucks? Because they spend all of that money on missiles to export terror around the world.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah. It's
And they
crazy.
get away with it.
Yeah, exactly. They get away with it, and the reason they get
But but
away with it
but just
is,
remember,
huh?
just remember, you know, I um I know you all have your elections on Tuesday. And really, may Hashem bless America and may Hashem bless Americans and may they make the better choice. Um, may people actually vote. I mean, I know people, I've spoken to people when I was in the States in July and August, and they weren't planning to vote. And I have to tell you, I'm astounded by that. But I think back to of all the things that Kamala Harris said, like in particular that we should not enter Rafah. She's studied the maps, and the key to having defeated Hamas was our entry into
Yeah,
Rafah. Um, it is what it is, man.
yeah, it is. And continually the problem is in the world is that you are breathing. Okay? I mean, that is the deal because as long as you
That's
are
it.
breathing, that proves that Hashem is not a man that he should lie. Period. So
Yeah.
that's
So,
how we deal with the whole
yep.
thing. This war is the integrity of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Period.
It's absolutely true. We can close on a happy note. Hezbollah just appointed a new head. That gives our Air Force another target. So, we're happy.
Yeah, and they're getting guys that are really old, so they're not going to last that much longer anyway. So, go ahead and put them in there, and it kind of takes them off the Medicare roll.
Yeah, yeah. Send them a pager. Let's send them a
Okay,
pager.
there you go. All right, man. Take care.
Have a
See
good
you
one,
soon.
Mike. Take care. Bye-bye.